Did you get into boxing whilst at school?
I got into boxing really early. I got into boxing year 8, so I just was turning 12 when I got in. So yeah, I've been in this since baby. But it's funny, I was first introduced to boxing at 8 years old. I used to watch a lot of Muhammad Ali at that time. So I used to be on my toes. I used to be like
not the Rocky films. It was Muhammad Ali. That after Creed.
So after watching Creed, obviously, then I started studying boxing.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the LB podcast. Delighted to have here with us this evening 6 times regional champion, 1-time national champion, and 2024 Haringey Box Cup champion. Phenomenal talent, a local lad. Without further ado, let me introduce Awais Hussain. Awais, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, uncle. How you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Really good to have you here.
No, alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. I've just told everybody about the amazing track record you have,
alhamdulillah,
which is amazing. And we're going to touch upon the boxing in a minute. But first of all, please just introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a bit about yourself, family, and growing up.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, obviously, my name is Awais Hussain, 21 years old. So I've been boxing since I was 12 years old. Alhamdulillah, I'm a national champion, just won the Haringey Box Cup, 6-time regional champion, 2-time international, and 2-time Box Cup champion. So alhamdulillah, been in the game for a while now. And I would like to think I've got an impressive, CV. But it's never enough for me. So
you always want to want more.
I'm always going to look up what's next.
But tell me, Wes, we're going to really delve into the boxing side of it, but you're a local lad, not too far from us in Woking.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Tell us a bit about life in Woking, family as well, siblings.
Yeah, so funnily enough, I was actually born in Manchester.
No way.
Yeah, I was born in...
You're not a Manchester United fan or anything like that? Okay, good.
I like Liverpool.
Alhamdulillah, good. We like that.
Let my family go. Alhamdulillah. So I was born in Manchester. I was born in Oldham.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got an auntie up there. So I was born there, and then I came down Woking when I was around, I believe, 1 or 2 years old.
Okay, so not long.
Not long, okay. Yeah, but pretty much born and bred in Woking at that point.
Right.
Grew up in Woking. All my friends in Woking. Growing up in Woking, I think it's really privileged. Alhamdulillah, wasn't really anything too crazy. Obviously, we'll get onto that later. But it was a privileged upbringing. Alhamdulillah, good mom, good dad, great siblings. Alhamdulillah.
How many brothers, sisters do you have?
I'm actually the oldest.
Okay, mashallah.
So I got a sister a year younger than me, and then I got a brother that just finished his GCSEs.
Mashallah. Hope you did well.
No, alhamdulillah, did very well.
Excellent.
And then I got a sister in year 6. So yeah, alhamdulillah. Good family.
So schooled in Woking.
Yeah, pretty much schooled in Woking, brought up education, everything in Woking. Education on both sides, the boxing and obviously school and everything all in Woking. Alhamdulillah. So, yeah.
So you just mentioned your brother. Did you tell us a bit about your schooling life, how you were as a student, went on to do GCSEs, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
college. Tell us a bit about the schooling years.
Yeah, so pretty much a bog standard, really, to be honest with you. I was obviously did my GCSEs, alhamdulillah, then went to college, and then after that just been doing what I'm doing now, really just training, boxing.
Did you get into boxing whilst at school?
I got into boxing really early. I got into boxing year 8, so I just was turning 12 when I got in. So yeah, I've been in this since baby. But it's funny, I was first introduced to boxing at 8 years old.
8 years old, wow.
I was first introduced to 8 years old by my uncle.
Right.
I remember he had a bag, and I would just hit the bag, and he would encourage me.
Was that at his house or in a gym or where?
In my house, actually.
In your house?
He was moving a couple of things, and he just had like a little, like one of them rubber bags from like Pakistan or something, like a toy pretty much. But I remember I was 8 years old, I was just hitting it, and I quite liked it. But then, obviously when you're at that age and you haven't got someone kind of on your neck telling you do this, do that, kind of, I was doing all things, playing football, I was doing karate as well. I was all the combat
quite
sports.
Sporty, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the most athletic, but I liked sports, and I liked just trying new things out, alhamdulillah. So yeah.
So that was the punch bag, your uncle's punch bag got you into
that
boxing.
was like my first introduction to boxing. Right. But 12 years old, I actually got into boxing through watching Creed, the first Creed film.
The Holly? Oh, no way. Not from watching any real life professional fighter or anything. Okay.
I went to watch that film in year 8, and our uncle, I don't know, see, Allah works in mysterious ways, but something inside, it just hit me that day. I don't know, I can't physically describe it. I know there's people that were there with me that day when we went to watch the film, and they was all like talking and everything, and I was just glued on watching this film. And I don't know what it was. I think it was just the glory aspect and the hard work, and there's something that ignited something in me, and alhamdulillah, it's been just yeah.
Okay, so your first introduction was your uncle's bag and you punching that.
Yeah.
And then 4 years on, you've watched Creed.
Yeah.
And that triggers flicks the switch, as it were.
I think it was always in me, but that just brought it to life.
But did you, as a 8-year-old, 10-year-old, watch boxing or see it? Have any favorite fighters at that time? Or it was literally, because that's amazing. I've never. It's crazy. I'll be honest. Of all the fighters that I know, it's always been the inspiration's been another fighter or something, a family member or something's triggered or they've been really. Energetic, and the father and the mother said, right, get into the gym, use up that energy. But none of that. It was Creed.
It was Creed. I mean, obviously, I had the characteristics. I was really, like, when I was younger, I was like demon child. I was just really energetic.
All right, so you were one of those ones.
So I've always had that kind of, I've always had it. But look, I never had like a dad or anyone that pushed me into the sport and said, do this, do that. Obviously, my mum and dad were very supportive, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm at where I'm at now. But
they let you be.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a boxing dad.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't all like a figure that was like, yo, do this.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do.
And it wasn't your dad, like, if you were so energetic, it wasn't your dad who said, use up that energy, go to the gym.
It was just me. Like, latched on, obviously, before that I was like playing football and stuff, but I wasn't really into it. I was doing karate before that. I was quite interested in that. So, always combat sports. Yeah. It was always something combat related.
So once you watch this film now, you're 12 years old, which is still really young.
Yeah.
And this switch gets flicked. What was your next steps then to sort of, okay, I want to be a boxer? Honestly,
that day I went home and I said to my dad, I was like, I want to sign up. I was like to mum and dad, I want to sign up to the local boxing, which is obviously Woking Boxing Club.
Right.
And literally the following weekend, I was in the gym, and I've been in the gym since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, when you sort of first walked into that gym now, were you all kitted out with your gloves, wraps, skipping rope? What was the
I remember I just pulled up in a like a Nike t-shirt. I think I had my PE shorts on and some trainers. And I remember when I went there, my first session, I sparred a boy that had a couple bouts. And I went in there and it was like I just belonged there. Like, not to sound corny or anything, but I held my own nicely.
Without even really fighting.
Without really ever having any fights. Without having any fights or anything. So alhamdulillah, I was always a natural. I believe I've been God gifted with it.
So that's where the real journey started.
That's when it started. And again, I've been, from then on, I was in the gym since. Been in the gym since.
Okay, so training at Woking Boxing Club.
Yeah.
And now you sort of, if we fast forward from 12 years old, you're there for how many years were you?
So Woking Boxing Club, I just want to give a shout out to Woking Boxing Club. And I should give you a big appreciation to all the coaches, Dave, Tony, Alex, Eddie, Phil, Jeff, Alan.
Wow, that's everyone. Impressive that all these years you still remember those names.
Because they taught me everything. They gave me the foundations, and through that I was able to build on it.
Yeah.
So I'm always gonna remember them. I'm always gonna shout out to Carl as well. Big shout out to Carl as well. So apologies if I missed anyone out, but everyone at that club, I'll always remember, and I always have unconditional love for them, because they are the reason I am where I am right now, alhamdulillah.
It's so refreshing as well, and we're going to talk about your character, but to show that level of appreciation, like we're talking 10 years on or whatever, but you're still recognizing and appreciating the work that they put in. Did they, once you, obviously you spent a long time there, did they see something in you straight away? Did they treat you any different to any of the other kids who entered that boxing club because of what they saw? Was it like everyone's just get on with it and we're going to work with everyone?
No, obviously, so when I went to the session I went to, was like more of a beginner session. So when I went there, for a while they were telling me that you should come to the Tuesday and Thursday amateur session.
Right, okay.
And they were telling my mum as well. And then eventually, obviously, I transitioned to that. So, nothing that maybe they're fair, very fair, treat everyone the same. But obviously, maybe the discussions they had with my mum, like when I had my first tournament in the Surrey Youth Games, 6 months after I started boxing, I remember my coach Dave said to my mum that he's good. Alhamdulillah, he's really good, so he should stick to it.
That's interesting, because there's probably a lot of kids at that sort of age, 7, 8, 9, 10, getting into boxing.
Yeah.
and probably hitting the local club. And that's when you're sort of probably finding yourself whether this is for you or not for you, and how good you are, or how not good you are, as it were.
100%.
But when you've sort of, now you've done all those years now, and you've taken that step that I want to do this a bit more seriously, and go amateur. What does that involve? What are the steps from someone boxing casually at a local club to saying, I want to become an amateur boxer?
I'll be honest with you, from the day I stepped in the ring, I said to myself, I want to compete. So it was never like I just wanted to do it
Right. It wasn't fitness or anything, just...
Again, I can't say, but that's something that they just ignited something in me. And I knew kind of where I was heading when I stepped foot in that gym.
Right.
So I knew that, okay, eventually I'm going to compete. Eventually I'm going to win titles, inshallah, and do everything that I did, alhamdulillah.
So what do you have to do then to become an amateur?
Yeah, okay, so obviously I think first and foremost the coaches have to see how you are, because obviously it's on them if they're going to put you out, because at the end of the day they're responsible for you.
Yeah,
you know, if you get
your health and safety as well, right?
So they got to see, well, is this kid at that stage where, okay, he can compete? And I think, alhamdulillah, once I got to that stage after my Surrey Youth Games, which was like a little Olympic, I'm sure you might have heard of it. In Surrey University, it's like a Olympic style thing. They had all sports everywhere, so boxing was one of the sports. So we went there 6 months after I started. Alhamdulillah, you know, I showed my medal. Really showed.
Did you have to move from Woking Box Club to turn amateur to another?
No. So I stayed in Woking. Okay. So my coach Dave Oliver at the time, he basically just said, "Look, we want to get you medical. We want to get you carded."
Right.
Got carded. I had to sign up to England Boxing.
Okay.
Had to get my medical done as well.
So there's a process there, which the club helps you out with. Not long at all.
Yeah. Right. The club helps you out. And yeah. I was fighting a year after I started. Okay, so then tell us then, when you're now doing your first amateur bout, tell us a bit about the feeling that you were going through. How was it for you? Yeah, I remember I used to watch a lot of Muhammad Ali at that time. Okay. So I used to be on my toes. I used to be like... Not the Rocky films, it was Muhammad Ali that after Creed. After watching Creed, obviously, then I started studying boxing and everything. And I used to watch a lot of Muhammad Ali. So I remember... in the gym, in the training, in lead up to my fight, I was just on my toes. I was bouncing around like Sugar Ray Leonard and everything. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You know it. So I was like that. But then when it came to the actual fight, because it's my first time really being in a tournament where it's win or lose, I remember I was really nervous, and I didn't have that same, bouncing my feet and everything. But alhamdulillah, I went in there. And I got the job done. I got the win in my first bout. So your first bout was a win? First bout was a win. That surely must be reassuring as well, right? Because from what I understand, the amateur game, obviously it's your first bout, but your opponent might be the same weight class, but maybe more experienced. They might have had 5 bouts, 6 bouts. He was actually from Guildford Boxing Club. So obviously Woking and Guildford had a bit of a rivalry. You got the bragging rights that day. Yeah, exactly. So I think, I think it wasn't on a Guildford show. I think it was in a show in Camberley. Okay. Yeah. But the nerves were all done. Once you got in that ring, when the bell went, the nerves went. Right. But because it's my first time like proper competing, I just had to soak everything up, get used to it. But alhamdulillah, I performed well. And I boxed a top boy. Right. And I actually ended up fighting that boy 2 more times. But in total, I fought him 3 times because given my weight, there wasn't a lot of people local. Yeah. So he was the only boy local. So I fought him 3 times. Alhamdulillah, I beat him all 3 times. Right. But again, talking about... You probably dreaded seeing your name come up in the... But he was a very good lad. So again, it got me more accustomed into the amateur thing. So obviously I had my first bout, but my second bout was a great performance against the lad. It was more kind of how I am in the gym, and then the third fight carried on, and then just followed through once you get used to pretty much just competing. And then obviously it was 7 regionals, right? 6 regionals. 6 regionals. So tell us, your first regional title. Yeah. That must have been something. Yeah, alhamdulillah, it was crazy because I was actually undefeated up to that point. So I got to, I think I was 5-0 going into my 6th fight. And you fight for a regional title so soon after. Yeah. So you're really in the deep end. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. Like a lot of people are like, well, your coaches do you in the deep end, right? But alhamdulillah, I think it was because they trusted you. They knew what you were about. Yeah, they believe in me, and they saw something. So either it was sink or swim. And alhamdulillah, I was able to swim. Because I went in the junior ABAs, cadet ABAs in my first ever championship in the open class. So I went there. I boxed a good boy from Portsmouth. Alhamdulillah, I beat him. And then I went into the semi-finals and I boxed a lad from Liverpool with
Right.
like 30 bouts. I had 7 at the time. Alhamdulillah, I beat him.
Right.
And then I boxed a top GB boy in the final. And obviously I lost.
Right.
But again, it's all learning. And I think for me, alhamdulillah, my first.
But this is against someone who represents the country.
Yeah, this boy was a top boy.
Yeah.
Top boy. So alhamdulillah, I went in there and I was able to, kind of show that, look, I took my first L at that stage.
Yeah.
So
and how was that feeling in the sense of you've had a great trajectory up until now, right? You've got to the final. Yes, you're fighting a GB, but again, I can't imagine this, but you lose. You lose for the first time.
Yeah.
What was your mind like after that defeat?
I was a wreck. I was crying. I hate, from day one, I hate losing. So obviously for me, coming up against a more experienced boy, I was like, what's this? Because I'm so used to obviously being on the winning end of everything. So I remember I was crying. And at that point, I was ranked number 2 in the country with only 7 fights in the open class. So alhamdulillah, looking back now, even looking back now, it was a good achievement.
Yeah.
But obviously I know myself, I know I can do better.
Did that defeat motivate you even more? Was it the case of you're down in the dumps thinking, oh man, what have I got myself
I was down in the dumps for like 2 days.
Right.
And then I was just back training. And then a month later, I had to fight.
Did it motivate you to sort of, right, I've got to step it up, or I've got to do more?
Because it's learning, isn't it? At that point, I only had 7 fights.
Yeah.
So it's so easy.
And it's not like there's obviously pro game defeats, like 5 defeats, 3 wins, your career is over almost these days. But in the amateur bouts, from what I understand, everybody recognises that.
You lose, you come back. Yeah. It's that week in, week out. Like again, month later, I was fighting, and alhamdulillah, I came back with a win.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. And then you went on 6 times.
Then obviously, throughout the course of my career, I'm doing 6 times.
And then the next step up, done the regional now, and then you got the national.
Yeah, so when I lost, that was actually in the national final.
Okay, that was national.
That was against the lad that beat me ended up representing England.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was top. And then did the same last year, and the following year I was in the final again.
Right.
Alhamdulillah. So it was good. Learned a lot from that. And then I believe that was 2019, so just before COVID hit.
Right.
So then we go on to see how everything was during COVID, which I think was my biggest turning point. Yeah.
Biggest turning point. So COVID was tough for everybody, right? I think the gyms were closed, and you had to, I'm sure, have a lot of discipline to keep ticking over at home. But you talked about the turning point. Was that COVID was the turning point, or something else that triggered something else? What defined this turning point moment?
Yeah, so I think obviously COVID itself was a big turning point. Obviously being at home and everything. I think that's when I was probably first introduced to what mental health is, and kind of the effects of just being kind of in lockdown.
Did you feel those effects? Because I'm sure, probably out on your runs every morning.
No, of course,
gym,
I had to sneak out. I had to sneak out to go running. So around that time, and then obviously, so that comes with its own problems. But then, obviously at that point, I just don't want to get into it too much out of respect for the brother. But obviously, I had my best friend at the time. He got stabbed, and that was like a big turning point. I think I was also just it was like a combination of just low points. Does that makes sense? Yeah. Obviously lockdown, and then on top of that as well.
But does that, and we're not going to go into detail about the event, but does that, something like that happening when it's someone so close to you, give you a sense of realization that I got to get on with things. I'm not gonna, we've got life one day. You might have it one day. We've got something today. We might not have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So did it give you a bit more of a sense of purpose or focus? I think to sort of get on with your boxing and in a more, I won't say serious. I think you've always been serious from. I
was always serious, but then I think a bit of a combination with me kind of. I'm going through like a phase. Again, I'm going in college. Maybe I'm not around, people that I was around before.
Yeah.
So I feel like, everything happens for a reason. Maybe I had to go through everything I went through just to kind of refocus and really understand, the meaning of just being grateful for what I have. So I think most of it was gratitude, alhamdulillah. So that was a big turning point. I remember that was just I was lonely at that point. I was just on my own. And
but sometimes that's the best way.
Sometimes when you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So alhamdulillah, that really made me. I think that really gave me and it really made me think about, well, like, I got something special.
Yeah.
And in all periods of my life where I've always been kind of down and like not depressed, but in a bad, very bad state, two things I always leant towards were three things: to my family, and then obviously Islam, and then boxing.
Okay.
Millions around the globe face unimaginable crisis. Iman Relief is working tirelessly in 24 countries to alleviate poverty through relief, education, and empowerment. We have provided global humanitarian aid, including water projects, emergency relief, housing for flood victims, and medical initiatives. Donate now at imanrelief.org and be sure that 100% of your donations will reach those who need it the most.
I want to touch on all three of those
Yeah.
now. I think it's probably the right time to bring this in. We've talked about your family before, mashallah,
Yeah,
brother, sister,
alhamdulillah,
and you're the oldest.
Yeah.
But what does that, and you sort of talked about your father is not coming from a boxing family person,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
father into it. But what does your family mean to you?
Family is everything. One thing I realized as well is with family, it doesn't necessarily need to be blood. It can be through iman, it
Yeah.
could be through loyalty. And it genuinely, alhamdulillah, I feel like now I'm around people that really, really care about me.
Yeah.
So the one thing I realized is when I was, when I was in that state in 2020, and as I'm sure you know, the people I have around me, obviously,
Yeah.
just to give Zishan was one person. Obviously,
Shout
I know
out to
you,
brother
yeah,
Zishan, or better
shout out
Zishan.
Zishan, alhamdulillah, yeah. Like that's one brother that stuck by me through
Yeah.
that time and
Yeah.
kept me focused. And then obviously my mum, my dad, I feel like my mum and dad, alhamdulillah, looking back now, they raised me really well. A
We
lot
can
of the
vouch
reason
that.
as to why I was in the gym
Yeah.
from a young age is because of my mum. I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
my mum never used to let me go out. My friends, my secondary school friends, they'll probably tell you, they used to like kind of like poke fun, oh, you never come out, this, that, because my mum never used to let me go out. So all I used to do was go home, train, train, go home, watch boxing, go sleep, wake up, repeat.
So obviously you've said your parents didn't really push you into boxing, your father didn't push you into boxing,
Yeah,
let you be.
Yeah.
But once you said, this is what I want to do, and it's
Yeah.
not just going once a week now, this is serious now.
Yeah.
How did your mom and dad sort of react to this Creed moment after?
Yeah.
Dad, I've just seen this film and I want to be a boxer.
Nah, I'll be honest, they probably thought, you know what, he's young, let him, because alhamdulillah, my mom and dad, they just let me, anything I was interested in, they always push me to, if you're interested, do it.
Do it 110%.
Do 100. So when I used to do karate, mom used to take me, dad used to take me. When I used to do football, mom and dad used to drop me off.
Yeah.
When I'm going to boxing, then I think they saw a change of, okay, he's really into this. He's really focused. So that's when they support me. I mean, they were driving me to sessions, they were driving me to sparring, they were driving me to championships. So when I've boxed in the like tournaments, I was boxing in Kent, I was boxing in Sheffield. 13, 14 years old, mom and dad driving me, booking out hotels.
Yeah.
And then they kept a good relationship with my coach Dave Oliver and all the people at work in boxing club as well. So they were obviously up to date with everything as well that was happening. And again, just like they weren't necessarily like boxing family, but they're like, you know what, he's interested.
Yeah.
He seems to be doing well, because at that time they saw a difference in my school as well.
Right.
How I was behaving in school.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like they saw, okay, he's really changing.
Yeah.
And what they're hearing from my coaches, they're like, okay, he's a natural, he's good. Let's push him a bit more. And then my uncle as well, the one that he was like, okay, you're really training. And my cousins as well. So they were like, you know what? Do it. So I think at that point,
they sense a level of maturity by the looks of it in terms of you're taking this serious, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think as a parent, we don't get enough credit.
No,
I'm joking.
No, honestly, like all jokes aside, I think.
But these are, I mean, the parents are, especially for athletes, especially for the boxers, I think, having spoken to many now, parents are the unsung heroes of
100%
getting the fighters. And it's not
100%.
easy, right? You're probably fighting up and down the country, as you said. It's time, it's expense, but they do it because you're the child and they want to see that. So having a good family support, we're all blessed, and alhamdulillah, it sounds like you've got an amazing family who support you from day one. Now, you mentioned the COVID, this incident, you're in a dark place, and you mentioned how Islam sort of helped or played a part in dealing with this. Now, for us as Muslims, we know Hasbi Allah, And when you're in that dark place sometimes and you're feeling this depression, and I'll be honest, we've all gone through it. And I find that's the time when you really connect, because you don't want to talk to anyone else. You can get down on your knees or in sujood and
100%.
pour your eyes out and, really speak to God. How did that depression or that low point in your life, did that bring you closer to God, closer to religion?
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously looking back now, I just want to clarify. Looking back now, I don't think I was really depressed, but like, because I think
Just a
that's
low
a
point.
big,
Sorry, maybe
yeah,
it's too strong.
yeah, because it's the truth, and I don't want to disrespect anyone going through anything mental health, but that for me was kind of the lowest point I've ever been in. So yeah, as you said, Islam was the guidance. Again, I grew up as a Muslim. I seen my dad, my mom pray. I've seen my uncles. I've seen everyone around me. I've seen them praying. So I'm like, it strikes like a curiosity, because I feel like you grow up a Muslim, but then there's a point where it hits you like, oh, this is really, alhamdulillah, this is really the truth. And again, I think me being in the gym and being so disciplined from boxing so young, it translated in all areas of my life. And I think one of them was obviously Islam, because I looked into it more and I understand like, okay, so I'm training, I know Allah giving me this, so I'm going to pray to Allah and I'm going to learn more and more, because I'm 13, 14 years old when I first really realized this.
Which is a level of maturity there already if you're thinking so deeply.
Yeah. I've always been a deep thinker, I'll be honest with you. I've always felt like I was just different. I think
Remember, because you're only 21, right? And even though we're having this conversation, you're way more mature than your years. Even, I felt that since I think the first time we met, I was like, nah, it's not a year and a half. It can't be 19, 20. It can't be.
Nah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so I think I've always, and I think I can just attribute that to obviously my makeup and how Allah's made me.
Yeah.
I think He just, alhamdulillah, just blessed me where I can think a bit deeper and everything. So I think kind of that, so the boxing and the religion went hand in hand, but then obviously as I grew older, I just fell more and more in love with the religion to a point where when I'm in that dark place, that's all I have. Do you know what I mean? Well, I don't have no one. I was on my own, and I obviously had to, like as mentioned, few friends, Zishan, and alhamdulillah, it just allowed me to really focus. You know what I mean? Really focus. And I feel like when you're on your own, the best times is to focus on your deen is when you're on your own.
Yeah.
One thing I saw is that when the Prophet Muhammad SAW was in the cave, he didn't have no one else, so that really allowed him to focus on the deen and everything. So then when I look at that, I think, okay, so being alone is a blessing.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest blessing in my life.
Yeah, and it's sort of trying to make the best of a tough situation.
100%,
and
you
get into
100%.
that. So that's fascinating, I guess. And
a lot of good people around me that time as well that told me, Awais, you got something, don't, lose focus. Don't.
And this is, again, just sort of touching on that, because I think Islam and that conversation, that contact with God, speaking and letting your heart go out, it gets you uplifts you, gets you in a better place, I think, mentally.
100%.
But then going forward, when you are in that better place, if you're on your deen, surely just keeps you more focused and
100%.
keeps you away from distractions.
100%. So the kind of the distraction that I would have fell into, I was able to avoid, if that makes sense, because of Islam, family, deen. Sorry, Islam, family, boxing.
Yeah.
Because of that, I was able to kind of stay away. And I've always just been that kid that was doing his own thing. And then obviously again, during 2020, when going through that, obviously, you get times where you stumble. But I think that's all part of kind of my character development and kind of how kind of the man I am now.
Yeah.
Because when I think about kind of how I was back then and kind of the hardships I went through, because obviously at that point, you win fights, you lose fights as well. And then on top of that, maybe not being around the best, company right for you. Not saying they're bad people, but the company that's right for you.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, again, I was able to kind of stay away from a lot.
Yeah.
But obviously I stumbled. But then I think that's when I really connected with myself and I was able to
keep going, that focus going.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
If I may, I want to return back to the boxing because and sort of talk about the Haringey Box Cup this year.
Yeah.
So we were just talking earlier, and this was the first time I've watched you box live. I've seen obviously all your clips and everything.
Yeah,
and seen how slick, mashallah, you are, and knowing that you're a special talent. But seeing you live was really special for me. And when you come out victorious, it was amazing. So again, congratulations on that. How was that sort of feeling winning the Haringey Box Cup? I mean, it was shown live on, I think, the Zone covering it, and that was something special.
Yeah, so like I think that was kind of one of the highest points of the amateur boxing as well, especially in this country. Alhamdulillah, it was great, man. I think it's just all the hard work, all the dedication that I put into the gym. And I think definitely one unsung hero is my coach, Steve. So just before I get on that, I would love to speak about kind of how I met my coach.
And I want you to, because I think we've talked about family, we've talked about religion, we talked about the boxing, but boxing, what we've seen, there's a community, there's a family, a boxing family, right? 100%. And I know how close you are to your coach and others around you. You mentioned Zishan, right? Who supports and others as well.
Yeah.
So please do talk about those around you when it comes to the boxing, having the right people around you, not only in your personal sort of spaces, but even for in the boxing game and the role your coach. Other supporters, play in that.
So so funny enough, when I went through that kind of little dip, alhamdulillah, part of that, I had to move to East London, and then I met my coach Steve. So I met him first time back in 2019, and then obviously when I moved in around 2021, right after college, I fully started training with Steve.
Right.
And yeah, man, like when I met him in 2019, me and him had a pad session, and it was just like instant like chemistry. It was strong because I just understood what he was saying. And
was he recommended or how?
Yeah, so I met him through Ali Wahid. So shout out Ali Wahid for that.
Brother Ali,
yeah, brother Ali. So met him through Ali, and like since then, obviously talking about family, my dad took me to East London at that time.
Again, show your dad, mashallah, just say go and do it if that's what you want to do.
So met Steve, and then I remember, alhamdulillah, we had a good couple of sessions. Actually, I remember the second time I went to train with him, actually, I was very fortunate enough to move around with Casey.
Legend.
At that point, he just came fresh off his WBO as well. So that was a great experience, alhamdulillah. And big shout out to brother Casey as well for obviously giving me the time at that time as well. But yeah, that's when I met Steve. And when I met Steve in 2021, alhamdulillah, it was like, we talk about kind of that, a lot of boxers have that father figure that pushes them. Everything. That's where I feel like I met
your boxing father figure.
Right, I met my guy there. That's do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was a big blessing, alhamdulillah. So when I moved to East London, I met him, and then it was just since
and he's guided you up to this position now where, mashallah, you are the 2024 Harrogate Box Cup champion.
Like I joined Steve back in 2021, like mid 2021. Then I remember I had a wrist injury, so I didn't really get to competing with him. We were supposed to enter the championships end of 2021, but I didn't actually compete with him till 2022. I remember our first fight was against a very top boy. He just came off winning the nationals.
Yeah.
And that was my first bout with Steve. And alhamdulillah, we came out with a very good performance and a good victory, alhamdulillah. So since then, the fight after that was in the national final. We won the nationals, then I became national champion. And then we just in the elite ABAs, the Harrogate, like all that stuff.
That boy you were fighting in Harrogate, he was a tough kid as well. Because I said, and I'll be honest, you don't appreciate the intensity and the work rate you guys
100%
in the amateur game. I think the game's a lot slower in the professional. You're picking your shots, but it was all out.
That boy was top, man.
I lost my voice, as you know. I was probably shouting too much, but that was just amazing. Like being a tough kid.
No, alhamdulillah. I mean, I think that comes from, that's a credit to obviously my coach and obviously myself for me being able to demonstrate and set out the game, because we had a game plan going into that. But then in boxing, sometimes you got to make adjustments. And I'm very fortunate enough that my connection with Steve isn't just a boxing connection. I think you've been around the top, uncle. The coach and fighter relationship is probably the most
100%.
important thing. So alhamdulillah, that translates into the ring. Do you know what I mean? So it translates into the ring.
I was going to say, I think there was confidence oozing before that fight. We could see, and we could see you, and we're trying not to disturb you. And I see you on the pads with Steve, and I'm thinking, Awais has got this, man.
Alhamdulillah,
we were praying and all of that, but we don't take anything for granted. But there was that chemistry. We can see it even before. I think during, we always trying to see, is Awais, or what's he thinking? What's the coach saying? Obviously, we can't hear or understand, but it just seemed like everything was in hand.
Alhamdulillah,
And then after the fight, when we're sort of jumping all over you and all of that, Steve was in the thick of things, and I think he was probably. Your brother, I'll give you a shout out to your brother, because I remember the hug you gave your brother, and that was really sweet. But Steve was right there, and that victory meant just as much for him as it did for you, I think.
I think that's what's different, is because he wants to make his mark as a trainer. You know what I mean? So he's just as invested as me.
Yeah.
So it's a proper
He's a
partnership.
stakeholder, yeah.
Right. So it's a proper partnership where we want to both win.
Yeah.
So that's why we train so hard. That's why, I mean, you know my schedule.
Yeah.
I don't do nothing but train.
Yeah.
I just came from the gym now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Just for the record, it's like 11 o'clock,
Alhamdulillah.
11 p.m.
Yeah. So it shows in preparation, alhamdulillah. And, you know, I'm very fortunate. Again, talk about religion. That's one of the things I think Allah, alhamdulillah, very, very fortunate that I was able to meet him. And I met him at a time as well where I was just coming off kind of like the hardest bit of my life. And he was able to kind of be that mentor and still is that mentor that kind of guides me and, you know, makes me be a better person.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's obviously so important to have people like that.
Yeah.
Before I want to touch upon the relationship we've established with you in terms of not as
100%.
family, which you are, but
family,
the LB
100%.
relationship. We'll touch upon that. But before I do that, I just want to, I guess, go into a bit more. So before we get into the relationship with LB and how we're working together, going back to the boxing side of things, I want to know more about Awais as a boxer.
Yeah.
I want to know about your style, how you come and approach a fight.
Yeah.
So let's touch on that first, and then I want a second leading question as well, I guess. But tell me, when you're going into a fight, what is Awais? What can we expect when we see Awais in the ring?
I think because I've been a student from such a young age, and then now, like my coach, for example, all he does and and obviously it's been in me, but it's been kind of extra enforced into me is that just keep studying, watch every single fight. So the best way I can describe my style is I need to be whatever I need to be in order to get the win.
Okay.
Because no fight is the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but does that mean then you be what you need to be? Does that mean you go in with a plan, but you need to adapt?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You will do so much. You know, if you're for example, a front-footed forward fighter and someone's pushing it on, you got to change your game and fight on the back foot.
I definitely bring an air of aggression and that explosiveness. Yeah, because obviously I'm short, so for me, I can't box that like on the back foot all the time or in a mid range. I can't. I got to make sure that, you know, I'm obviously from combinations and you know I'm getting working on the inside a lot and giving angles and stuff. Game. But yeah, so that's kind of my forte, if you like. So, you know, obviously inspired by people like my favorite Tank Davis. Obviously, I know you guys know my favorite Tank Davis. So, him, like Roberto Duran.
Yeah.
I love Mike Tyson as well.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I watched that, it was like you're ducking in and out, throwing those left hand, right hand in the body. And then the uppercut. When I was like, the uppercut's there, I remember. So I was like, the uppercut's there. And you did it. And it landed every time because you were in so close. So,
alhamdulillah.
And as I said, maybe you're underplaying this, but I felt that was an aggressive. And I know the amateur game is high intensity, there's a lot of work 100%. Going in, but it was combo after combo. None of this tippy tapping. It was, you were throwing those shots to hurt.
Yeah, 100. You know, touching a bit of a dark side. I like to be aggressive. I want to hurt you in the ring. You know what I mean? So
that's what it's about.
That's what it's about. And again, like, I think, you know, I bring the excitement to the sport. Again, touching on no matter, I said I need to do what I need to adapting, but whether I'm on the back foot, whether I'm on the front foot, whether I'm mid range, wherever, I know every time I step in the ring is excitement.
Yeah, 100%. We were excited that time.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the crowd. The crowd that day.
So another thing, you know, for them amateur bout, the support base there. It was, you know, I was making noise, but I looked behind and left and right, and everyone's out. Wow, where did these lot come in the pictures afterwards? So, and that's really important. We're going to touch upon maybe some of this and how important it is to build up that support base rather than fan base. So that's the sort of boxing style, aggressive fighting inside.
Yeah, just excitement. Yeah, just pure excitement.
And you touched upon this, so I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to tackle this head on, right? So you're not the tallest.
No.
You go in, and most of your opponents, I'm assuming, like the kid you fought in the Harrogate are significantly taller.
Way taller.
And they've got, I'm sure, height and a reach advantage.
Yeah.
And I can only assume, but the mindset when they see you is, he's half my size. I'm going to batter this kid.
Look, like, even when some people, they see me now, they think, oh, you box.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you box, or you don't. Look, so I don't know what it is. They think I'm 6'5", I'm big bicep muscles walking around my chest. Nah. Like, so again, So I think that's what kind of makes me unique, right?
Yeah.
They're like, you can't, man,
What is
I'll
it?
beat you,
Yeah.
I'll slap you.
Yeah.
But then when they see me fight, they're like, oh, this
Yeah.
guy, okay, this guy's.
And I guess
this guy's
it's probably so satisfying where people may have written you off
good. Yeah.
when they lay eyes on you and they
Yeah.
see another opponent who's taller and all of that.
Yeah.
And when you batter him,
Yeah.
it's like, and what? You know?
Alhamdulillah, like I think I think that's what makes me unique. I
Yeah.
think there's always something fascinating about a shorter guy just beating everyone up.
Tyson
Taller,
did it right too.
right?
You know, look at Usyk against the big guys
Usyk
as well.
versus Fury, and now you look at kind of the lower weight classes.
Yeah, they're on fire. At the
They're on
moment,
fire
the
because
tanks and all
everyone's
of-
knocking them out, right?
Yeah.
So again, like I think that's what's unique about me, that people just, man, I can't imagine you fighting, but then when they see me fighting, like, oh, okay, he's about it.
Yeah. And again, we're going to touch upon the characters, but such a sweet, innocent guy outside the ring, lovely manners, characteristics, and then when you go in the ring, it's like beast mode.
Yeah.
You just turn and
I feel
become
like you
into
gotta have
different-
that. You gotta be able to kind of turn that switch on. When you're in there, it's different.
Yeah.
You gotta have that other side to you,
Yeah.
that mean kind of side. So
Yeah.
alhamdulillah.
Brilliant. So let's go back now. So we probably first met, I think,
It was the Eid event.
It was the Eid event, wasn't it? Which
Eid
you
event,
came.
yeah.
So
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
like Legal Blows was like, what's Legal Blows? It's like we just decided to get all of the Muslim boxers essentially and have a get together
Yeah.
to say, look, we're stronger together, build this
No, of
community. And then we've sort of, as we've grown, we've learned that we can't do everything we want to do for everybody. So we've sort of reached out to people. Some people have reached out to us, say, how can we work together? And you, I think, were our first formal LB athlete, which you're really, really proud
That was alhamdulillah.
of.
That was big, man.
Particularly because you live literally around the road from us. So it's supporting one of our own, literally he's one of our own sort of thing. So just go into, without singing our praises too much, but the benefit, again, we've talked about family, we've talked about your religion, we've talked about the coach and the team you have. What we try to, as you know of us, our motto is we're here to give, not to take.
Exactly.
And I just want to sort of get your thoughts on how this relationship, if it has helped you in any shape or form, and what perhaps others, not necessarily with Legal Blows, but how they may benefit from just having what I would just like to think good people around them.
I think the main thing is what you just said, having good people around you. And it's not necessarily, you can have great people around you that are real nice, real down, but then they may not be able to execute on a professional business level. But with you guys, you get the best of both worlds, alhamdulillah. So obviously you guys have done your work with the top fighters right now. So when I saw that, and when I actually got into working with you, you guys provided not only the knowledge behind kind of how to deal with sponsorships and kind of carry myself as a brand, but then also you lot provide the structure. You provide a big structure in, well, how do I operate as not only, like, you guys made me think of myself more than just a fighter. More of like on the business side, more of, okay, well, I'm a fighter, but then outside of the ring, I've got to brand myself in this way. I've got to kind of carry myself in a way and have this person around me and that person. So, alhamdulillah, was like, you guys have provided that structure. And, long-term relationships that I've had, for example, I'll give a quick shout out to my brother, Coupling Zone. I've known Hamza for a while. And when you guys came on board, I mean, you guys just put everything in writing. And now me and him have a great sponsorship going on and a great sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah.
And it's just clear, black and white.
Yeah,
and it's, we've had this discussion before, and what we try to bring to the table is, I think you can be the best boxer in the world. And it's, winning titles and all that. But you talk about being more than a fighter, and we would like to make our fighters think of themselves, not as fighters, but also investments and assets,
of
which we want to exploit, because the boxing side of it and the training regime, who you fight, how you fight, we don't know anything about that. We're just fans and, of the game. But when it comes to looking after your interests outside of the ring, I've heard and seen too many horror stories where fighters go out throughout their career, do phenomenally well in the ring, but they haven't got anything to show for it at the end of it. And for me, that makes my heart bleed. Why?
Yeah.
Because I know how hard you guys work. And it's got to be more than titles. It's got to be putting bread on the table, making yourself and your families financially
100%.
secure. Or no?
I mean, that's what I'm learning now, kind of, as I get, that's the thing I love, like, I'm always learning. And, I'm sure, Taha would tell you that, I'm always messaging him, asking, how does this work? How does that work? So,
Who's Taha?
like, so, like, kind of just that, inquisitive side, just thinking, okay, like, I want to be educated in all areas. Do you know what I mean? Like not just okay, cool. Alhamdulillah, Allah's given me this talent to be a great fighter. So, but I want to be, expand myself and that business side, branding side. Okay, well, how do I take care of this? How do I get the maximum? Pretty much. Do you know what I mean? From endeavors outside the ring, because as my profile goes in the ring, it also grows outside the ring as well. And I've seen the work you've done with a lot of the top boxers in the world today. So, alhamdulillah.
And I know you're in discussions and you're, from amateur to pro. So I don't want to go in there because I know it's all a live thing. But I think one thing which you're completely aware about is it's a different game when you turn pro.
Yeah.
You got to be a good fighter, of course you do.
Yeah.
But you got to sell tickets. You got to get viewership. You got to, as you say, brand yourself in the right way. And I don't think, and this is what I loved about you when we first met. And I love about you now. You're just so real.
Yeah.
You're real. We talked about the Islam and there's nothing fake. There's nothing for clickbait. And again, if we move on now let's park the boxing now. I know everybody in Woking knows you. Probably everybody in Surrey knows you. Maybe everyone further afield knows you as well. But I can only speak for where we're from, which is Surrey and Woking.
Yeah.
And that's because I see that you're a real person of the community.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
That you want to give back. So last year, I think there was the knife crime event. You were supporting that. We see you in the masjid giving lectures and talks. So just tell us about that. Is that you just trying to gain some new fans, followers, sell some more tickets, or is that important to you?
No, I think it's very much important. I think the way I see it is a duty. In the grand scheme of things, I may be, I don't think I'm anything right now. But for me, if I can touching on kind of the things I went through, if I can just help another kid maybe going through a similar period, or just be kind of like a point of reference, someone can say, well, if he done it, I can do it as well. That's what really matters, because one thing I'm learning as inshallah your career develops and everything is more than just about you. Then you learn there's people watching you. Like I may go to a gym and a guy may realize, oh, I saw your fight in the nationals, blah blah blah. Or I saw you on Instagram or something, and then it really makes you think that people are watching you. So for me, it's more to think of alhamdulillah, as my name is building, as I'm growing, I want to kind of give back to the community in a sense where I just want to be like a present figure where a kid can come up to me and say, yo, you know what, Vas, I'm struggling with this. I've asked got some question about boxing. Can you help me out? You know what I mean? Or maybe not even boxing, just as you've grown up in Woking, you've done this, what do you kind of advise?
Yeah.
So I always, try my best to be, a role model.
Yeah.
But I don't really like to use that word because again, I like to just be real.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I'm not someone that can say I've got so many faults of my own. Yeah. I'm not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me, if someone can see that and say, you know what, I can just take a bit of motivation or inspiration from it.
You've done your job.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's funny because we have this, me and Taha, my son, eldest one, who's integrally involved in what we do. It basically, really helps. We have this debate and I'm like, I don't want to do this in terms of, I don't want to do these podcasts, or I don't want to stand up and present this. I keep giving advice and I feel I should just step back. And I sort of, we underplay that. And I think like you were saying, this one conversation you can have with someone can change their lives 100%. Or at the very least motivate them. We had a call earlier today with a really good brother, and he was just saying, you know what, you inspired when I see you and the way you conduct yourself, or when you say, go, keep going.
Yeah.
It actually matters. And I said to Taha, I said, you know what, subhanAllah, that for me means sometimes whatever I do, and you know what I'm about.
Of course, man. Alhamdulillah.
A lot of banter, a lot of laugh and jokes. I make a fool out of myself, but I don't mind because why? I think there is a good that's coming out of this.
Yeah, of course.
And the reason why we love working with you is because you represent everything that Legal Blow stands for. It's about building this community, Muslim or non-Muslim. I want to reiterate, as you know, like
Muslim,
Steve isn't a Muslim, your coach isn't a Muslim, half your team may not be, your fan base may not be. It's about building this community.
Yeah, of course.
It's all about inclusivity, and we want to help and support everyone. So that's the first thing. And then sort of going past that, you want to see these role models, because when inshallah, I have grandchildren,
inshallah.
My children are 12 now to be fighters, but I want them to think, you know what, I want to be a fighter and I want to be like Awais, because he's at the top of his game, but he's good mannered, he's good with his parents, good with his family, good with people, he prays, he doesn't do anything silly. He is that someone to look up to, and that's the sort of athletes we want to foster, and that's, I think, is a big responsibility. So having said all of that, how do you think you will carry that responsibility, and how are you using the platform that you have to carry on inspiring? What more do you think you need to, and how much of a responsibility do you feel that it is for you?
Honestly, I just be myself. I think being myself, again, you said it, like, there's no filter with me. What you get on screen is how I am in real life. I'm just the same. So I think, and a lot of that comes, me being myself, a lot of that comes from being a Muslim, alhamdulillah, being someone that is also devoted to God. And so the values that I kind of gain from that, see myself I can help another person. You know what I mean? Because I do pray and I do keep myself away from, haram and everything. And, I do make sure that I'm well mannered, I'm respectful, and if someone can take something from that, then so I don't really need to kind of manage that in any way, if that makes sense.
And it's so funny, isn't it? Because sometimes the best form of dawah and here is
just
by acting as an example.
Exactly.
Not by, you need to pray, you need to do this. Just conduct yourself in a way where Muslims and non-Muslims think this is a good guy.
One person I look at, Khabib, one of my favorites. Yeah. The way he conducts himself, you have even most of the people that are non-Muslims saying, wow, this guy's a good brother.
Yeah.
But then, that's something because he practices the religion wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? So
it's a clean-hearted person.
Clean-hearted individual. So, that's someone I look up to a lot because that's someone that, shows that, there's a path. There's a path there. And again, I think just to answer your question, be myself really. There's no really managing that. Just making sure that,
be real.
Yeah, be real. Stick close to God because that keeps me humble. You know what I mean? Because everything I have is not from me.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing I've done. It's all from Allah. Like everything I went through and the success I'm gaining now, it's not from me. It's all from Allah. It's something that Allah's blessed me. Something that Allah's blessed me with.
Yeah.
So I can't sit here and say, well, I'm not going to speak to you because I've done this. And I'm no one. I'm just blessed by Allah. So if anything, me getting this is a duty for me to go ahead and, be a role model, help
and create the next ones.
Because the whole goal is the next generation is going to come and overtake me. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no
can help them
point.
In that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Amir paved the way for everyone. Amir Khan. Now, alhamdulillah, now you're seeing Pakistani boxers popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Alhamdulillah, because of him. And then the pros that in the scene now, they're the ones that are paving the way for me.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah.
So, Awais, tell me now, again, in this sort of transition phase, if I can say, from amateur to pro, and you're thinking about various options, what do you want to achieve in this game? I think everybody knows about your amateur, mashallah. We've been talking about all the championships that you've won. But what do you want to achieve in the professional game?
World champion without a doubt. Inshallah, I will be a world champion without a doubt. I'm going to go in and I'm obviously just going to train hard, keep doing what I'm doing. And I think if you're in this sport to not be the best, then you're in the wrong sport. So, just legacy. I think it's all about legacy and creating a better future for myself, my family, you guys are family. So, building this community that we got together. So, I know it all starts with just, winning and continuing to win and continuing to stay focused and dedicated to my craft and to Islam. So, to answer your question, I just want to build a legacy.
And inshallah, we know you will.
Inshallah,
you've got our support.
Yeah,
all the time we're here to help. And we want to see you go on this journey and achieve all of your dreams, inside the ring and from our end,
inshallah,
more so on the outside as well, so you've got that secure your future, inshallah. So look, Jazakallah khair for coming on this podcast.
Appreciate
it's been a real pleasure having you. Hopefully get to see you again soon.
Very soon, inshallah. I just want to take time to thank yourself as well. I think it's very important to kind of outline the work you're doing. And I just want to say that you were the first few people to believe in me. So I appreciate that. And I think every box can relate. It goes a long way when you have people coming up to show support. So I want to give a big shout out to obviously my sponsor, Legal Blows, for the support. Obviously my sponsor, Cuppings and Hamza as well. I think it's about building a good, strong team around you. And alhamdulillah, I think we're in good stead.
That's exactly. We appreciate you too.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you again. So that's all for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. And inshallah, watch out for the next one. Thank you again, Awais, for joining us.
Thank you.